Oh, you're here. Caitlin here. Hello, hello, hello. So today I'm going to be talking about Lizzie Borden. I've actually gone over there twice. Not for a day tour, not for a night tour. I actually slept over Lizzie Borden's house twice. I'll get to why in a little bit, but I really want to talk about my experience and a little bit about Lizzie Borden herself. So you may be asking, who is Lizzie Borden? So Lizzie Borden is someone who lived back in the late 1800s, and she is the number one suspect for the person that ended the lives of Abby and Andrew Borden. And even as a little kid, there was this rhyme that existed, and I remember hearing it around a fire pit, and it went something like this. Lizzie Borden took an axe, gave her mother 40 whacks. When she seen what she had done, gave her father 41. I remember that rhyme so vividly in my childhood, and it's so crazy to believe that was over 100 years ago. And it's just really crazy to think that that's actually based off of a true crime, and it's technically unsolved. So who is Lizzie Borden? Lizzie Borden was born from Sarah and Andrew Borden. Andrew Borden came from a family that, like, his parents were not really that well off, but there were some people in his family that were. So obviously he wanted to make something of himself. He started working at a bank. This man, was a little bit known for being relentless. If you were like, hey, I'm so sorry, I was sick, I'm back at work, I'll catch up on payments in 3 months, he didn't care. He would just foreclose people. He was known as being a little heartless when it came to stuff like that. So that is like something you really got to remember in the back of your head when it comes to picking who did it and, was it an inside job? Like, what's going on here? And another thing that really sticks out to me is that, people always like to point out like, oh, Lizzie was very heartless. I think she was just the baby in the family. A little bit spoiled, a little bit of daddy's little girl, a little bit of a brat, maybe, if you will. And Lizzie was only 2 years old, and Emma was only 12 when their biological mother, Sarah, passed away. They did have a middle sister named Alice, who was about 8 when she passed away. And back then, you got to remember, the medical fields were not what they are today, so they really weren't that good. So remember that for later, because I'll touch upon that a second time. So obviously, Andrew got married, but he was a penny pincher. He was very frugal. So the thing about Andrew Borden is that, so he's known for being relentless to other people, but then for his own family, he was just so frugal over the top that it was just a little bit crazy. He bought 2 halves of a duplex, put it together, turned it into a house, and that's what they lived in. And it puts Lizzie and Emma in a situation where they felt like, they were given an allowance. They were women that didn't have to work because, Andrew Borden is a well-off man. In today's money, he was worth anywhere from $8 to $12 million. So obviously he gave his daughters an allowance. They didn't have to work. So that now puts them in a situation where they're too well off to hang out with the working class, but their lifestyle is so frugal that they can't really get along with the people that, quote unquote, live on the hill. If you've ever visited Fall River, Massachusetts, where they resided and where the house still stands today, it is called the Highlands. That's the name for the hill. And what happened was that Abby, which is who Andrew ended up marrying later, she was the type of wife that just supported Andrew in anything and everything he did, even if it was maybe not the best. She wasn't the wife that'd be like, no, honey, your kids are right. She never was like that. So that caused a little turmoil because Andrew made a decision where he's cheap with his family, but then he'll gift houses to people. In particular, there was one house that he gifted, and it made Lizzie very mad. in particular, supposedly. And this is a big turning point to remember, because some people say that Abby was too supportive and too defending of Andrew. Like, no, no, no. Like, you know, just like defending him. And Lizzie was speaking for her and Emma and being like, no, like, this is not fair. You could have given this house to them. You just gave a house away. You could have given this house, and then we could have been living on the hill. And that's the point in time where my cats are fighting. I apologize. But that's the point in time where supposedly they stopped calling Abby mom. So there's two things that I keep hearing, is that either they never called her mom, or they stopped calling her mom at that point in time. So that incident happened, and that's a big lying, you know, underlying piece as to why would the passing of Abby and Andrew Borden happen. So I did with my own research, and I realized something. Abby and Andrew Borden passed August 4th of 1892. But that's a little odd, because Lizzie's birthday is like 2 weeks before that, which is July 19th. And I also found another interesting fact. John Morse, the uncle who stayed over right before that awful event, okay, and continued to stay over even though it did happen, mind you. Seems like a little protective and helicoptering over his nieces, no? Andrew Borden married Sarah, and Sarah, like the first wife, Sarah had a brother, John Morse. So this is, if you think about it, it's kind of like John is coming in and being like, who did my sister marry and have kids with? And oh, Lizzie, we both share a birthday in July. It turns out his birthday is earlier in July. So I think these two, since Lizzie was in her 30s and Emma was in her 40s, they're 10 years apart, so we're talking 32 and 42, they were considered spinsters, too old to marry, which is awful. I mean, they live in this weird situation where, yeah, they're too well off for the working class, but they don't seem, you know, rich enough or enough bragging rights to hang out with the people on the hill. So they just never got married. And it's just, my cat just walked by the lights. But it's just, you know, it's just an awful situation. So I have two theories. So both of them include Lizzie Borden having no clue it happened. Hear me out. Everybody has their own working theories. And remember, this is an unsolved case. So I think John Morse had his birthday pass. He wanted to check on his niece, who he hasn't seen forever, and started realizing, you're how old? You're still not married? And what I think happened was that he's like, you want to know what? I'll take care of it. I don't know who your father married after my sister, but this has got to be dealt with. You two cannot live this way. But I don't think he was working with Lizzie. I think he was working with Emma, because it has been noted that Emma told Lizzie, I will be your mother from now on. I will always watch over you. And it was a little suspicious that Emma was away for a whole week. She was such a homebody. So that's just a little weird. And then the whole thing that John Morse, he did not bring his luggage in. I think there was something in that luggage, like an axe, maybe the axe no one ever got to find. So I found that a little weird. Another piece of evidence that I'd like to, you know, or my other working theory, and I'll get to like some of the evidence on why I really don't think it's Lizzie. My other working theory is that John Morse decided to do this. And you got to remember, he's the brother of Sarah. And I think that he just didn't like this family, maybe because he didn't visit them a lot, remember? I think maybe Lizzie did not have a reaction because she truly thought she could have been next. You gotta remember, they kept saying, oh, not even a tear. Well, she could have been next. She could have been body number 3. And I think a lot of people miss that fact. And I think she kind of also was shocked that people were saying it's her. And she's like, what, you think it's me just because I was in the house? And I think she was just not expressive and saying like, well, I could have, been number 3 in the house that you found. It's just like, it was really like, I think that could have crossed her mind. And I think maybe John Morse screwed up. Maybe he thought these 2 sisters were literally friendless and hung out at home all day, and he just wanted to off all of them to end this tarnish on the family. Because if you view it, it's a man that did have rich relatives, but he wasn't rich. He did make himself rich. So you would think someone who comes from a well-off family would be like, okay, yeah, sure. And then they find out that he literally lives over the top frugal. Like, so back then there was a lot of things where they would be like, oh, that's a tarnish in our family. We don't want anything to do with that. There was a lot of like denouncing and stuff back then. And another thing that you need to realize when everybody wants to say it's Lizzie is if she did do it, the doctor she had gave her a prescription, air quotes here, that would calm her down. And then literally the next day, he doubled it. Mind you, this is back in the day when doctors definitely over-prescribed things. And she still did not confess. And that's something a lot of other people have pointed out, is that if she was on that high of a dose, she would have slipped up. Instead, she kept confusing where was I at what time, which is kind of reasonable if you're on that high of a dose, but you still never confessed. Another thing that really sticks out to me, and a lot of people just glaze over this instead of being like, Lizzie did it. There's no running water. Andrew Borden was so frugal, even though it was very affordable, especially for him, there was no running water. So tell me, how plausible do you think it is that someone could very quickly do something like that? Abby was around 9 or 9:30, and John was like a little after 11 because that's when he arrived home. So they're about 2 hours apart. But how could she do both, get super clean right away? And as far as the dress being burned, I think a lot of people in today keep forgetting, and Hollywood loves playing off of how people today think, is that people burned garbage back then. People would actually, like, if I wanted to throw this away, I would just throw it in my backyard. Like, there was no, like, oh, let's go to the dump and give away our garbage. There was none of that. It was literally walk out in the backyard and dump it. Like, dig a hole and dump your trash. There was no proper trash disposal. And the person that made the dress even said, yes, I made that dress, and she ran off to go show it off to people, and she got paint on it. So there really was paint on the dress, and people really did burn stuff back then. Why would she do something like that? And her neighbor even said, oh, that's the worst thing you could have ever done. Mind you, doctors, they prescribed things, and there's a suspicion that she was prescribed that, and the reason why she couldn't handle heavy dose is that she had a problem with it. And back then they never considered that, oh, maybe we shouldn't give certain things to people because they can be reliant on it. So you remember, she's the youngest one, a little bit spoiled, and she doesn't think of things like that. And she probably just wanted to get rid of the dress because they were working at the stove. It was a fire stove inside, and she just did it. So that's why I really don't think it's her. And also, she was very charitable, always teaching Sunday school and it was buried in 4 inches. I find it so hard for a petite woman to do that. And the jury also believed there's no way she could do it. So to recap real quick, I think either John Morse did it himself, and he really thought both sisters were losers and he could maybe off them too, and he screwed up and didn't realize like they don't just hang out in the house all day, or Emma and John were working together and Lizzie literally had no clue. I do have cue cards here. I'm sorry, it's weird. So the business when you go there. So when you go there, you have options on the website. And these options can change. Please do not ever quote me on anything because they could change their business model. So you could do day tours. Those day tours, they actually dress up more than I did. I dressed up a little bit and then I realized that it's really cool because I might get more of a reaction out of the ghosts. But they actually dress time period appropriate and they go through the house and people do a little bit of acting. It is very adorable and I absolutely loved it. And you got to see each room, take pictures. They don't want you to film because, especially the audio part, because they wanted that people go there specifically to hear that part. That's why I'm trying to only work off of my theories without giving away some of the information they say, which kind of makes it more black and white. I lean a little more towards there's no way Lizzie really did it. Now, on top of day tours, there's also night tours where you get to go in the basement. That one, they ask you politely to only take pictures and not audio in the basement specifically. Even when a show wanted to go into their house, they asked them, please do not film in the basement because they kind of wanted that you really have to go there, which makes sense. Okay, you got to go there. It's a special thing. There is definitely paranormal activity in there, and I'll tell it when I tell my experience there. So there's that. Now, when you stay overnight, you pick a room. The room does not include tours, does not include a day tour, does not include an overnight. Why? Because you might not want to do it. Maybe it's your second time there, your third time there, you've already done the tour, you don't care. So why waste a spot for somebody that might not go there? So it's separate. That's the model that they chose for how they run things. So if you pick it, you have to choose a tour yourself. Do you want to do the day tour before you stay overnight? Do you want to do the overnight while you're there? You're going to choose these things. There's also the option to sleep overnight in the basement. I actually was there when someone booked that, and they actually politely said, we're not staying in the basement. And, you know, the place was cool that they're like, yeah, okay, no problem. So that's how the model works. And then there's also a gift shop. And I forgot to grab this, but it is just so cool. I have to go grab it. Grab this. They come in earrings. They come in necklaces. This is a small vial. I asked them very nicely if I could bring my own vial and fill it, and I'll pay them whatever they want. And they said no. But this is a vial of brick dust because they had to take down the barn and redo it and this and that and make sure there's nothing underneath and blah, 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 blah. Because the barn was pretty much in shambles. The house is original. So this is brick dust from that remodeling. They only have so much, so that's why you can only get a small bottle. But I think this is the coolest souvenir ever. They do have a foam axe that has, let's call it sauce on it. That one's foam. Then they have one that's actually like a carpenter's axe. That's the type of axe she used. So on one end, the axe has something where you could actually hammer nails down. There is a little bit or a little like carved out piece where you could actually maybe pull out a nail. Some axes have them. Some carpenter axes do not have them. And then it has obviously the axe part. So that is the axe that was found in the, or the type of axe that was found in the basement. So you could buy an actual real axe that has on the metal part painted on it, Lizzie Borden's, and really cool spooky type of lettering. That's really cool. And it has a protective guard that comes with it, I assure you. But I would not buy that for kids. But if you visit, ask them if they still have brick dust and if you could please buy a bottle because they only got so much. Once they run out, I don't know, it could be 1 year, it could be 5 years, it could be 10 years from now. Buy the brick dust. That is limited quantity. So I have a vial of brick dust. So the gift shop has weird hours, and one thing to note is that if you are staying over, sleeping over, okay, pretty much the gift shop closes, and then that's your check-in time for staying over. They tell you kindly to please not come too early because there's limited space in the parking lot, and there is a tour that's at like 3:30, I believe. So they have a tour end at 3:30 to make sure everything's all set for the overnight guests, and they close up the shop, and then the people come in for the overnight stay. Do you get it? How it kind of flows, how they like manage it. So if you want to buy a souvenir before you check in, you do have to come a little bit early. Just enough. It closed at like 5, and I believe check-in was 5. So just double check that before you go. So there is the first night I stayed, the second night I stayed, and I could explain the overnight tour and then the day tour we did. So the first night I did was the night before Lizzie Borden's birthday, which is, her birthday is July 19th. I stayed over July 18th. I slept in her room, and what I ended up doing is I had a birthday cake. The birthday cake said, "Happy birthday, Lizzie." Funny side story, I have to say this. I went to Market Basket and got that cake, and the lady at the checkout goes, "Oh, so cute. How old?" I told her 4. I just didn't have the heart to tell that woman it's for someone who doesn't exist anymore. But little side story. So I had that. I had it wrapped up, and I was like, all right, I'm going to put that in her room while I sleep in her room, and maybe she'll be too excited and open it maybe. And will I feel like negative tension in the room? Like, did she have a really bad birthday and that's why her parents ended up leaving this world 2 weeks later? I just had to know. I also had a coloring book out, a piece of paper with questions. I even took a pen. I made sure it was clicked because remember, ghosts are not going to know how to use today's stuff. And I put it in the ink quill little thingy they had. She didn't touch anything. And I didn't feel anything. However, that night there was a lot of heavy energy in the John Morse room. So that really stuck out to me. But that was not like specifically John Morse's room. That was like the spare bedroom. So it just feels really weird to me that there was a lot of heavy energy in there. So I stayed, I woke up, nothing happened. All right. But what did happen, like these are like little things that I'm not going to say it was paranormal, but like they were just weird things that happened. One of them is paranormal. Upon entering, I kept going, oh, what is that? I kept rubbing my leg, and I saw the staff do a little chuckle, but brush. I was like, oh, hi, I'm here. I'm checking in. And like, oh, no, you know the code to get in. Like, we gave you a code. We know you're here. Said your room's ready. Like, you're good to go, okay? And I was like, thank you. And I didn't think about it. I kept brushing my leg. And when I got in my room, my phone was on airplane mode. How did I drive there with my phone on airplane mode? I had to use my GPS. There's like a weird turn, and you could turn this way, and then you get there, and then you turn left. So I definitely needed my GPS, and it was working. So, and it didn't say lost connection. You know how your GPS tells you that? It didn't do that. So that was really weird. I looked outside. I saw the pear trees. I enjoyed that. I walked. Definitely, I will give these locations, by the way, in the description below. But you could walk by the church that she went to. Then you could walk a little further and go to Maplecroft. Maplecroft, it still says Maplecroft on the top step, but it is private property. So from the sidewalk, take a quick selfie and leave them alone. So if you visit them, leave those kind folk alone. They own that property. It's for their own personal use. It's not for business purposes or for people to tourist stuff. Okay, go there, take a picture, make sure it says Maplecroft and that's in the photo, and then take off. And then I walked back, and I thought it was so cute, but I was like, oh, I found a phone. And it turned out to be one of the staff. She's like, oh, I ran like 4 blocks down the road chasing like the neighbor's Yorkie because like it got loose. It was a cute little Yorkie. And I like gave her a phone. So like the staff is very, very sweet. I actually really adored that. It was just so humble and cute. I loved them. Really great crew. Note to self, I'm going to always pay attention to how happy the staff is. Not saying it's a requirement, and it's something to note in the future that I will always pay attention to the staff. And I feel like if the staff looks decently happy, sound-minded, like they don't seem disturbed, they don't feel stressed out, then where you're staying is probably safe. if that makes any sense. So yeah, that was definitely like, the staff is very sweet. I don't think they've ever had issues working there with the spirits, okay? I don't think they have any issues. The other thing was that I could connect the Wi-Fi, but there was no Wi-Fi available. And they explained to me, they were like, oh, I'm so sorry. Like, it works in the gift shop. It doesn't work in there. We can't get it to work. I'm so sorry. And I was like, no problem. It's okay. So I did not do any tours the first day because I was by myself. And I wanted to experience the tours like at the same time with my friend the second time I stayed. So the next morning I saw none of the gifts were open. Nothing was touched. I went to the gift shop, told them, hey, I already checked out, but I got one last question. Can I light one little birthday candle and sing happy birthday and see if she'll blow out the candles? And he said, one of them goes, the one that chased the Yorkie, she's like, I don't make that call. He's the man that makes that call. So I don't know if he was the manager or the owner, but he's like, all right, I'll allow it. He was like, just don't burn down the place. I said, no, it'll be one little birthday candle. I promise you, I won't do a bunch, just one little birthday candle. So I did one little birthday, and I told him I'll leave the cake too. A little bit of bribery. I was like, I'll leave the cake too. And I lit it, I sang happy birthday, and I'll insert the clip now. So it says happy. It got squished. Really be careful. Look. See? Lizzie, in the bottom. Right. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Lizzie. Happy birthday to you. I don't know how long to wait. Make a wish and blow it out. Nope, she's not going to. So, as you can see in the clip, she did not blow out the candles. I waited. It was just cute to say I tried. The other thing is that I noticed after the fact that it's one of those things you question. Like, was it Lizzie? Was it somebody? So the birthday cake says, happy birthday, Lizzie, right? I mean, birthday was supposed to say happy Lizzie. That's all it said. And I was like, that's weird, because it says happy birthday, Lizzie, right? The top right was supposed to say happy Lizzie. That's all it said. So did she do it? Did someone do it? I don't know. So the thing that really was paranormal for sure is that this is not something I want you to expect, because when you go there, you might feel nothing. If you go there, you might feel something. So there were other people there and they were talkative. There was a group there that wasn't talkative and they kept to themselves. And one of them said that they read the book on the dining room table that talks about people having experiences. Apparently people see a black shadow in the John Morse room. Someone got a bloody nose in the John Morse room, and people said when you feel something brushing against your leg, that's the cat Max. So later on, we were like hanging out in the kitchen. Every so often you see someone go like this, like just subconsciously brush their leg. And that's when the person told us about what they read in the book. Like, oh, that's the cat Max you're all feeling. He's going between our legs. We're in a kitchen. It's a cat. We literally had the ghost of a cat begging for food in a kitchen. That's pretty cute. That's really cute if you think about it. So I left a review and I just felt like it was so nice and pleasant. And they told me later, and they ate the cake. I thought it was so cute how the staff's like, I did have breakfast, but it was a light breakfast. I'll have cake. And then the cute old guy, he's like, did she blow out the candles? I said, nope. I promise you the little candle and like the match, it's in the sink. So there's no way anything would burn down. So everything's safe. The cake's there. You could eat it. You could display it and show people to like say, hey, today's Lizzie's birthday. You can do whatever you want with it. It's market basket. It's a golden cake. It's cake. He's like, today's a good day for cake. And then he like walked off pretty quick. It was so adorable. But he was like, oh, cake. Just like, that was really cute. So that was my first night at Lizzie Borden. So then the second night, I stayed with my friend. And we did get to do the church, but I got to take a lot more better pictures, and she's really good at pictures. Then we did go to the Maplecroft, and I just took her picture. I was like, it's privately owned. I just want to take your picture and take off. Like, I already have one. I'm good. Like, I got one. I need to get you one, and we need to run, because I just want them to be left alone. Do you know what I mean? I'm sure they have people like try to pester them. Just leave them alone. But when we were there, we were in a room and we didn't really feel anything right away. I jokingly took out my rods. So these are copper rods, and you could use them to say yes, no questions. So the building I live in is actually pretty old too. And I get asked this question, it's probably not going to do anything. So elbows tuck like this. Is there a spirit in this room with us? Cross for yes. Nothing. See, because there's nothing here. I've never felt anything here, or at least in my unit. So I don't think there's anything here. I definitely have lived in a building that does have ghosts, and I wish I used those back then, because he always looked out a window. It's a totally different story. But the building I live now, there's nothing. So those, I get to roll these for a very long time, and they're not going to do anything. Is there a spirit in this room right now? Cross for yes. I can lean down. Leaning down, leaning down. They're not crossing. They're like touching the table. They're still not crossing. They literally have to be touched. So I used these jokingly before the overnight tour, and I was like, Abby Borden, do you love money? Cross for yes. And she did. It was just funny. I was just joking. My friend and I were funny. And I brought this, and I already had one of these. I already had these tools. And when we were doing the overnight tour, there were 24 people. So they broke us up into 12 groups. They let people spend time in the basement, time upstairs, and they had them switch. And I think somebody already rented the equipment for everybody. Or maybe they're like, dude, this is so many people. Just let them all use the equipment. We already made enough money for today. It's a big enough number. Just let them use the equipment. Or I think somebody already paid it, and then all of us get to use it. So whoever paid it, I love you. But I was already ready to do this. So our group chose a bridal party, and we wanted her to choose. So I was like, by the way, I'm going to try to get a reaction out of them as much as possible. I'm a very lively person. And she's like, okay, you go down. So by the time I get down there, it'll be amped up. I was like, all right. So first thing I did is I went in this room, and it's like a music box. And every time it's got a laser, you go like this, it plays it. So I went way back in the corner where this one spirit is. And I don't want to give names, because I just want you to go there and know who is what and where. But that ghost would play the music box. Every time I asked him, I said, stop it, stop it. I said, play it, play it. And we would test it. We would walk by and we would go, is it dust? No, literally this thing would only play when we said, play it. And this is an actual device that you could buy online. It's not like Lizzie Borden gave you a device and is like, yeah, use this. And then they're in the back pressing a button to make it work. It's not like that. There was a middle room. I didn't feel anything in that room. Then we went in the back, and this is where it got scary. This thing was normal for everybody, and one person, it was going crazy. She's like, oh, I knew this was going to happen. She's like, stop, 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 stop. And then we have one person, we're asking questions. There's the other person having the spirit box with the headset. And apparently there were 3 there that day. One, I will not get the name. The other one is the dark spirit they always talk about. They are not a he or not a she. They are not of this world. They have no age. Like they don't even have a timeline for their age. They're just a dark entity. But it's not evil? Does that make sense? And the tour guide told us that, is that it's one of those dark entities. It's nothing. It's just, it's we sage the place once a week. It still exists here. The other one they warned us about is Carl. I'll tell you about him at least, because I had a lot of interaction with him. I think he liked me, I liked him, and we got along really well. So the ghost Carl, was fighting with the other ghost that was there. And the dark spirit people, like, he was just there, he or she, and they were arguing with each other. But one of them in particular, it was either the dark spirit or the other one that was there, kept bothering this one person. So I don't want to give out too much information, but I mean, basically, this person's a cop. She just closed an investigation for someone of a name. We're just going to say John Smith, all right? And the ghost, through the spirit box, keeps asking, what happened to John? Hey, where's John? What happened to John? And that was really freaky. Okay, that is very freaky if you think about it. So it's just too weird that, as she said, I knew this was going to happen because I thought about it later, if you have an occupation, whether you're a doctor, you work in the ER, you're a cop, an investigator, if you have a job where you're going to deal with people who pass on, these ghosts might know that and interact with you more because they know that you deal with it all the time. I'm trying to avoid words for monetization purposes, but they know that you deal with people that cross that bridge all the time, going from the living to the non-living. So if you deal with people who cross that bridge all the time, maybe you're more of a catalyst. Maybe they'll interact with you more. So that was very freaky. Then we had to switch with the groups, went upstairs, and I think Carl wanted to follow me because we were in the dining room, and I have a little mini clip. We were allowed, like my friend was a little scared, and I was like, no, we're allowed to film up here, just not downstairs. Insert clip here.
The puff. I think you need to shut the door. Yes, it's shut.
Okay, so as you can see in that clip, the thing's going crazy, and he literally, so the ghost will do this thing where they don't like it when there's too much noise from the room next to you and they want you to close the door. That is something that happened twice. They say too noisy, because they only want to hear you. They don't like hearing multiple people. So that was something that repetitively was heard in the spirit boxes. As soon as we closed the door, guess what happened? They stopped saying that in the spirit box. Like, what? It's just crazy. So we had Carl, and he kept messing with us. So I'm going to try to imitate. So remember I said, you got to cross for yes. But if I go like this, it doesn't make him cross. But if I go like this, it doesn't really make him do anything. He kept going like this. And I was like, oh, you're hugging me. So he just kept doing it to joke around. And Carl likes to pretend he's people, and he kept pretending he's Lizzie. So I'm like, how come you blow out the birthday? He's like, oh, not worth birthday candles. He's like, oh, not worthy. And he kept saying weird stuff. And like, I think he started saying bad. But then he said something interesting. He said, not able. And because sometimes they can only say like 2 words. And I realized that some ghosts might not be able to like blow out a candle, or they might not be able to move. They're all going to be able to do something different, but other ones won't be able to. Some can maybe turn off lights, some might not be able to. So that was the interesting thing. And like, there are some, because I asked later on to have a bell ring, and then they literally admitted they couldn't. And I'll get to that in a second. So that was very interesting. So then he got embarrassed, Carl, when we said, we got told Lizzie Borden doesn't reside here. Is this Carl? And he like left. He's like, he actually said leave room or something like that. And then literally all of these went down to just the first one. That was it. So freaky. So then we left the room, and we're out of the room, and we're still with Carl. So a common thing is that you see little bowls of change. And people like to give a little bit of change to the spirit. And apparently, Andrew Borden calls it his change. Where is my change? And apparently, if you take change and steal it, they'll know. And they'll keep bothering you until you return it. And so there actually is an apology letter with like 3 dimes or something. Sorry, I took your change. Like, don't ever do that. But I did leave change because that eventually was a request. But what was funny is that Carl messes with us, so I messed with him. And I asked Carl, do you know what the Macarena is? And what the rods did is that they went, and I felt like that was kind of like, so this is yes, right? When you say make them straight, they'll do this, or sometimes they'll accidentally do this. Like, no, straight in front of me. Now, sometimes to say yes, they'll do this. Like, they'll whack your side of your arm to let you know, hey, I'm responding, because I can't say yes. So this is yes, so this is going to be no. So what it is that we asked, do you know the Macarena? And did this. Be like, Carl, do you not know what the Macarena is? Cross for yes. And he immediately crossed for yes. So we said, would you like to play it? He immediately crossed for yes. We're like, all right, we'll teach you the Macarena. So we're doing it. Insert video.
Okay. Cross the rods if you want them to stop.
Oh, he likes it. Oh, okay.
So that went on for maybe like almost like 1.5 turnarounds, because you know how the dance, it's like you face this way, you face this way, you face that way. So it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We only got to say, hey, Macarena 6 times. And then the group in the other room with the spirit box, because there's multiple people that like can use spirit boxes, and we like switch who uses it in what room for what. Because again, remember, there's 12 people downstairs, 12 people upstairs. And apparently, Andrew Borden is known to be a bit of a grump. He tells people to leave his house, but apparently that night he said, stop music, stop music. So the group over there came over. It was like, hey, can you guys stop the music? Because Andrew's really angry. And then we asked Carl, did you have us play music to make Andrew mad? And he immediately crossed for yes. So that was a little funny. So that night, I was very tired and I didn't want to do my questions and stuff. I said, no, I really want to do it at 9 o'clock when Abby passed on. So it's very nostalgic. And I was sitting on that black couch. So there's the bed and then there's a black couch. And then there's the prop of Abby in her famous position. And yes, they do leave the prop there when you sleep over. And it's very realistic. You can't take photos of it and just post it online. I think it's better so that like you actually have to go there to see it. I was sitting there, and if you think about it, this is not a typical curl or hairstyle back then. The page boy haircut and pinup thing is not of their time period. So she literally kept going like this, and it wasn't heavy. And we got warned that Abby, she knows she was supposed to be the mother. She'll caress you, maybe hold your hand while you're sleeping. She was playing with my hair, and I thought about it later. I was like, well, my hair was curled different. So yeah, she probably it felt like very cool running water. It went through my neck, and she just kept, it felt like somebody just going, oh, like they were just playing. And she only like went like this playing with it. And the tour guide did say she does play with your hair. So I just found it super weird. And I was like, and it started creeping me out. And my friend just like is sitting on the bed, frozen. I'm like, stop. And then it stopped. And I told her what happened. She goes, okay. And like my friend's like, if you were not there, I would have not slept over, but I'm glad you were there, because obviously I did sleep over. And I was like, it's fine. I was like, it didn't feel bad. It was just like really cold water. The one from the first night with the cat, it felt like thin, like electrical spider webs touching your leg. I don't know how to describe these things. But the one where I was playing with my hair, it was like really cool water. Like really, really, like not icy cold hurts you, just like really nice cool water, like just, but it went through my neck a little bit. And then she was playing with my hair like this, like as if she was trying to do this. And again, because these curls, they are different. It's not something they probably saw in their day. So that was very weird. So I slept over and I was fine. I did have to like make sure I have my blankets, because like they do keep it 72, and I'm like, I don't know, it just feels colder, and like where my bed was, the air vent was right there. I was fine, but I thought about it later. The The house is very cool, but you gotta remember when they do these tours, they're like fully dressed up. So it's not just 72. It feels like a very cool 72. So it's like definitely dehumidified and everything. It's very like controlled. I slept fine, woke up in the morning. We got up early. We went to Miss Lizzie's, the cafe, not related to the Airbnb, Lizzie Borden. I don't get the breakfast because I'm such a pain and I got allergies and I just didn't do it each time. Like each time I stayed, I just didn't. But I went over to Lizzie's. Basically each morning I stayed there, Miss Lizzie's, and just got like a coffee, just chill. Because I don't always want to eat right away in the morning either. So, or at least like I usually don't. And I had my coffee, and I found out that if it's the anniversary of when the parents passed, the first 40 people get a cookie, which was so adorable. But yeah, so I got to talk to Abby in the morning before I left, and I asked her a bunch of questions, and I'll insert the video right here. So as the bells you can hear right now, it is 9 o'clock on August 4th, the anniversary of the passing of Abby and Andrew Borden. And I have with me a little ball. I have a little bell for ringing in case they wanna. Don't know what's gonna happen. There was activity last night, but I don't really want to say what. And I just want to see if I could get some responses and maybe say sorry to Abby because it's kind of bad that it happened that way. So these are 99.9% copper rods. They're dowsing rods. You can ask questions and you could say cross for yes or leave them straight for no. And last night I learned that some of the ghosts, when you say straight, they do this. And then you say no, straightforward in front of me, and then they'll do this. I'm actually holding them so I could do it. And then one of them, they would do this for yes, and if it was no, they would go like that. Because I think they wanted to make sure I knew that they were just not like forgetting to reply. And one time there was a ghost that was like, they couldn't answer when we were asking them if they knew what the Macarena was, which was funny. So this is not really moving. I'll prop it up like that so everybody could see it. I also have Ouija boards are not allowed. It is a yes/no board, so it would go, it says yes, yes, so it'd go like this for yes, so we'll just see if anything happens there. So I want to try the crystal because I have not had it work here yet. So we'll see if we can get it to work. So you hold it in the middle, just. So I have yes going this way, no is that. So, is there a spirit here with us? I would take that as a yes. Stop. Please stop. Please stop. All right. Is this Abby Borden? Yeah, so this happened last night where, like, this is a crystal, which it does have some weight to it. This is what the kit has. So some crystals you can get, they actually have copper in them. So I think copper must be something that they're more able to manipulate. So I'm going to try the dowsing rods instead. I'm going to cover this so it doesn't really confuse them. They were people, right? So, all right. So you got to make sure you don't touch the bottoms. Make sure you're pretty level. I'm going to ask the same questions. Is there a spirit in this room with us? Cross for yes. Thank you. Can you please make them straight again? Straight? Straight in front of me? Thank you. If this is Abby Borden, cross for yes. Aw, you are here for us. Go straight. Here comes some interrogation. Abby Borden, did you know who the person who told you? Cross for yes. Wow. Abby Borden, can you please tell me did Lizzie cross for yes? My friend's on the couch, that's why I'm shocked. There's no ghost there, that's my friend. Wow. Abby, can you tell me if John Morse was the one that you crossed for yes? Oh, wait.
Ask again if it was a stranger. Cross for yes.
I do have to do the reverse, huh? Abby, did the person that were they a stranger cross for yes? So this is sometimes a no, because they want to let you know that I'm gonna straighten it. I'm gonna ask one more time just in case. Abby, was the person that told you a stranger cross for yes? Maybe she doesn't want to talk about it. Abby, do you know that you are cross for yes? She doesn't know. Abby, do you think that you're alive? Cross for yes. Because she thinks she's alive. Aww.
Did she see the person that hurt her?
I had to be specific.
Like say yes.
That just bleeped a little bit.
If you saw them, like say yes if you saw them.
But she doesn't remember being, and she doesn't know if it. She couldn't answer, and that's why she tried answering no.
Okay.
Abby, on August 3rd, did you have a huge fight with anybody? Cross for yes. I was a little delayed. Straighten them, please. Not that way. Can you straighten them in front of me? Thank you. Abby, were you ever scared for your life? Cross for yes. Abby, did you ever have issues with John Morse? Cross for yes. Abby, did you know John Morse very well? Cross for yes. Okay, so she knew him. That's weird. She thinks she's still alive. Abby, last night, was that you playing with my hair when I was on the couch? Cross for yes. Oh, a little bit. Go straight again. Straight forward in front of me. Yep, thank you. You have to be specific. Not sure what else to ask. That's like all the questions.
I'd love to hear her ring the bell.
Okay. All right. I'll put these down, Abby. All right, we're gonna switch. So, Abby, I was wondering if you could touch this box. Oh, I gotta move this maybe. Touch this box right here and make the light come on for me. Abby, could you maybe ring the bell? You ring it by doing this. Abby, I have a little ball here that is a cat toy. It actually is a little toy. When you touch it, the lights go off. And it's really pretty, and I really would like to see it. It takes a while for it to stop. Can you please make those lights go on for me? I think they're really pretty. So last night, I remember I asked a ghost, why did you not blow out the candles last time I was here? And they actually admitted that they can't blow out candles. So I really do think that sometimes they can't do things. So let's ask. Abby, are you unable to manipulate lights? Cross for yes. I take that as a no. Abby, make it go straight forward. Abby, are you unable to ring that bell in front of me? Cross for yes. Go straight. Ooh. Abby, were you unable to make that ball light up in front of me? Cross for yes. Aw, you tried. That's sweet of you. Go straight. That's kind of sweet. Abby, could you try one more time to ring the bell? Please. Cross for yes. All right, go straight. Straight forward. Straight forward. All right, try to ring the bell one more time. Again, all you have to do is touch this thing. Just go. Oh, that bleeped a little bit. Abby, can you please touch that bell for me? I love its sound. We tried.
Tried it.
Abby, I had a lot of fun. I hope you did too. And this is the little replica from the thing, by the way. But yeah, I find that interesting. She doesn't know that she's not alive. And this did go to like this, the second one, a few times. I have no cell phone in front of me. I'm recording from my phone and my friend's way over there, so it's way too far. There's no microwaves, nothing here that would set it off other than a spirit. So I'd like to think that that was her a little bit, but she did say that she could do that. So I'm gonna sign out. This is August 4th at the John Morse Room, where the first person was unalived. Yay! So as you can see, I didn't know that the church made bells sound off at 9. I'm used to churches having their first service at 8 and the bells go off, not 9. So it's kind of cool to say like, no, it really is 9 o'clock. That's when the bells go off. And, I did get some answers. I had to blur out me saying the word that we can't say anymore. I'd have to say unalived because a ghost is not going to understand that word. So I use the actual word that unalived is supposed to replace. And I just found it interesting that she didn't know who did it. She didn't even know it happened. She still thinks she's alive. And, and I tried asking her if she could ring the bell. It's just a little... She didn't. She admitted she couldn't. This... She would have it move a little bit and then she got confused. And honestly, it's shiny and pretty. I think she just wanted to play with it, to be honest. I did not bring a Ouija board. So a Ouija board is not allowed. So whenever places tell you you are not allowed to use something, you should listen to them. Ouija boards are not allowed because they had one. A lot of people do seances and stuff. And apparently someone thought it'd be a smart idea to steal the Ouija board. This is one story from the tour I will tell you so that you know not to bring one. And the person stole the Ouija board, right? And then they brought it back and it was propped up against the gift shop with a note that said, please make it stop. So they think if you bring a Ouija board, something might go with the Ouija board home with you. Does that make sense? So that's why they tell you, no Ouija boards. So if they tell you do not do something, you should not do that thing. But yeah, so do not bring a Ouija board. But I did do the pendulum, I did have the bell, I did have this, I did have my copper rods, I got some answers. I think it was just so cool. And comparing her birthday visit to the actual event, I don't know, like, I still think her birthday has a little bit to do with it. I think because John's birthday's also in July. He went to check up on his niece and be like, okay, well, you guys are still not married. And I think that's where, the whole thing got planned. And I really think Lizzie's innocent. I really do. And then we did do the day tour, like I said, all dressed up cute. But yeah, so Lizzie Borden from Fall River, Massachusetts. I don't think she did it to them. I don't think Lizzie Borden took an axe and gave her mother 40 whacks. By the way, it was not 40. Apparently it was like 18-ish. And it's a stepmom. And then the father got like 10 or 11 estimated. The numbers are different depending on who you talk to because there's the original report and then some people review the evidence with today's science and computers and then give different numbers. But yeah, I just hope this is fun for you as it is for me. And I did dress up with this at my second time. And then I realized I'm like, I was still in this when she played with my hair. Maybe I should dress up time period appropriate and use my cosplay skills for the next one. So I'm not saying I'm going to do these like all the time because I want to make sure I use them during very specific dates that would actually maybe get more of a reaction or maybe a full moon or something like that. Definitely, I highly suggest Lizzie Borden's. Remember, it's August 4th is when it happened, and her birthday is July 19th, if you ever want to stay that date too. But remember, the ghost of Emma and Lizzie are not there. Abby and Andrew definitely are there. There's the dark spirit, there's Carl, there's Max the cat. But just because you go there doesn't mean you're going to feel anything. Because the second time I was there, I only felt Max once. Not as soon as I entered, and then in the kitchen when we were all hanging out there. So just remember, when you go to a place, doesn't mean you're going to feel something. It's not, there's no way you can guarantee you're going to experience something. I did each time, but it doesn't mean it's going to happen for you. I just wanted to share what happened. I wanted to share what particular dates, and also how their business model is since they took over the business from the other owner, and how just because you don't have this, you could try to use a yes/no board. It says yes and no. They don't quite, I feel like some spirits might not know how to use this, but they do know how to use these, so I highly suggest these. And I hope I gave you enough advice to maybe enjoy your own stay, and I hope this was as entertaining for you as it was for me. And this is Caitlin signing off. Yay!